This is Danielle Harris, and you are listening to Rock Video Rental.
Welcome back, everybody, to our Halloween series marathon. This is Rock Video Rental, and I am Brandon. With me, as always, is Caleb. Today, we are talking about Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. It is from 1988 and is directed by Dwight H. Little. The plot for this one: 10 years after his original massacre, the invalid Michael Myers awakens on Halloween Eve and returns to Haddonfield to kill his 7-year-old niece. Can Dr. Loomis stop him? The cast for this: Donald Pleasance returns as Dr. Loomis again, Danielle Harris as Jamie Lloyd, Ellie Cornell as Rachel Crothers, George P. Wilbur as Michael Myers, Bo Starr as Sheriff Meeker, Kathleen Kinmont as Kelly Meeker, and Sasha Jensen as Brady. I think this is probably the second Halloween movie I ever saw. I believe I saw the first one first. Like I mentioned when we did the first one, that I got the original Halloween on VHS for my birthday one year, and that was the first time I ever saw it. This one, I got like some little history with this one too. I went to Canada with my family. I grew up in a thumb of Michigan, so we were only like an hour and a half from Canada, and we would take trips there every once in a while, do some shopping, and just kind of check things out. We went to a Canadian store that doesn't exist anymore called Zellers, and I bought Halloween 4 on VHS for like next to nothing. So if you're not aware of what Zellers is, it was like the Canadian Kmart, basically.
If you're not aware of what VHS is, then just stop listening to the podcast right now.
Exactly. If you're not aware of what VHS is, then just, don't talk to me. Another kind of random memory I have of Zellers is they used to have this mascot. So there'd be a guy walking around dressed like a big teddy bear, and his name was Zeddy. I'll never forget that for whatever reason. But, so this one of them is kind of held in a decent regard by fans of the series. Like the title is The Return of Michael Myers.
Yeah, they were not beating around the bush.
Oh, yeah. His face is right there on the poster.
And they're like, okay, we screwed up with part 3.
Like, y'all hated Killer Mask. We're just going to throw Michael at you now until the end of time.
Yeah.
So you better just love it. We're going to force feed you Michael. And yeah, I mean, if we forget about 3 and go back to 2, we remember how that ended. Dr. Loomis blew up him and Michael in the hospital room. He saw flames pouring out of Michael's mask. Somehow he's alive. So
it's a miracle.
Loomis looks like somebody chewed up a lot of Big League Chew and slapped it on his face. That's about it. And he walks with a cane.
Yeah.
Michael, when we first see him, he's all wrapped in bandages, and they're transferring to a different facility. Of course, boom, he wakes up and takes out the paramedics.
Well, of course, then boom, they're doing it on Halloween.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. It's not like all of a sudden he wakes up on St. Patrick's Day or like Earth Day or something.
Yeah, Valentine's Day.
We should just cover one of the holidays that doesn't have a slasher movie, like Earth Day or Arbor Day or something.
Killer Trees. Oh, wait, they already did that movie. Oh, man.
So, he quickly takes out the paramedics, and he's heading to Haddonfield again for reasons. He's got a niece who's 7 years old. Her name is Jamie. Apparently, she's the long-lost daughter of Lori.
Who died
which,
in a car accident.
yeah, happened? Question mark? uh, of course, Loomis finds out his Michael sense is tingling, and he decides he's like, I got to get the Haddonfield, and uh, he actually finds Michael at a gas station where Michael's killed a mechanic because for reasons he has to assemble the exact same outfit he wore in the first two movies, which that outfit in the first movie was put together just by happenstance, I guess, because he had to get out of his hospital clothes and he attacked this mechanic, took his jumpsuit, and then when he got to Haddonfield, he needed a disguise, so he put the Bill Shatner mask on.
Mm.
So apparently, like, he just has to recreate that. And
Yeah.
why are they still releasing? Why are there places in Haddonfield that still have this dang mask
Right. Well,
after
like
the worst thing that ever happened in this small town?
I know. I thought of that, and I was like, maybe because it's been 10 years, maybe they're like, oh, let's. Some stupid stores just like, hey, let's try to capitalize on this whole horrible thing that happened 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. So the aforementioned Jamie is now living with a foster family, the Carruthers, and they have a teenage daughter named Rachel, and she's kind of like the other main character in this. She really, her and Jamie get along really well, and she treats her like her little sister. Uh, like no one has any idea that Michael's coming. I guess, like for whatever reason, Loomis couldn't just call the Haddonfield police. Like, hey, Michael's coming back, so
Well,
be ready for that.
if he had called, he wouldn't have been able to have that amazing performance in the police station.
Michael.
It's Michael Myers. He's here. There's 6 bodies in here since the.
Yeah, this is where Loomis starts going off the deep end and goes nuts.
Oh yeah.
I told you when we first started watching this last year when we watched the first one, I told you, I'm like, yeah, Loomis, he kind of goes off the deep end.
Yeah, a little bit.
He's starting to get a little manic in this one, and you just wait to see what happens in the next installments. So, Jamie decides that she wants to go trick or treating, so Rachel takes her. Ironically enough, Jamie picks out her costume, and it's like the exact same clown costume that Michael wore in the first one as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Foreshadowing?
I was thinking the same thing.
So, we get some more Michael shenanigans where he attacks the police station, kills a bunch of officers. Now there's this lynch mob in town who's going around trying to
They
find
took our
Michael and kill him.
jobs.
Yeah, pretty much. Because the whole police force is pretty much gone, except for like 2 guys. They hold up in the sheriff's house with Rachel's boyfriend Brady, who's cheating on her with the sheriff's daughter Kelly, who's wearing a shirt that says "Cops do it by the book," which is kind of an iconic shirt from this series. You see it on TeePublic and everything, which is pretty funny.
Oh yeah.
And I laughed at this part tonight when I was watching it. I said to my wife, like, so like this Kelly, her and this Brady guy were fooling around, and then her dad pulls in the driveway, and she's like, "Oh, my dad's here," and Brady runs off, and she goes and like quickly gets like redressed. So like she walks to the door, she's just wearing this T-shirt with like her underwear and no bra.
Yeah.
And like it's a white T-shirt that's pretty thin, and she's pretty well endowed. So it's like, and then you see all these people coming in, like, wouldn't you want to just, I understand, it's your dad, so you're just going to jump up really quick. You're trying to get your clothes back on, as long as you're covered, whatever. But like when these other guys come in, wouldn't you want to go to the bathroom and go put a bra on or something or pants?
Well, yeah, even on top of that, it's just like if you don't have pants on, I'm pretty sure everybody's going to connect the dots.
Yeah. Like I guess maybe her dad was more occupied. Um, like throughout this movie, we get these dumb teenagers dressed like Michael, pretending to be Michael, and the cops almost shoot him
Oh yeah, dude,
like
that
numerous times.
yeah, that actually like in this one really kind of threw me because I was just like, what is going on? But that goes back to the whole thing on like why are all these people dressing up like Michael Myers?
Yeah, I mean, at least at this time, it was 10 years ago, so it's believable, I guess, that
Yeah.
people would know what he wore.
Well
Not like in
then
Halloween 2 where there's Ben Tramer was dressed like him for reasons, because that was supposed to be the same night. Like nobody would know what he was wearing in order to like put this completely random outfit together.
yeah, like he could have had the mask. That could have made
Yeah,
sense. But the
the
mask,
mask, but with the boiler suit, too. The jumpsuit.
yeah.
Like, come on.
Well, the thing I thought about too is just like 10 years later, some of these kids are going to be too young to have even known what
Yeah,
happened.
I was 7 when this happened. Uh, so of course, there's the crazy scene where like the lynch mob rolls up and they're like, "I saw him in the bushes," and they start like unloading their guns, and they find out they killed some guy. It wasn't even Michael. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm from like the little hick area in the thumb where I could see this happening.
Hickville, USA. He's
Yeah,
got
pretty
something in his
much.
hands. Good easy.
Yeah, towns with a population of 100 people, I could totally see this happening.
Yeah.
I didn't really see him all that well, but I'm pretty sure it's him. Just go for it.
Let's just shoot.
And of course, Michael shows up at the sheriff's house, um, and Kelly gets killed because Michael stabs her with a shotgun.
Yeah. And then he like
In a
leaves
classic, huh?
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, in a classic quote from James Rolfe, aka the angry video game nerd, Michael stabs people with guns. Does he shoot people with knives?
Well, then he like stabs her with the gun and then stabs her into a door and
Yeah.
somehow he leaves it and the gun is keeping her attached to the door.
Well, because Michael is that strong.
That's like, but it's a gun. It's a smooth barrel. It would slip off in less than 2 seconds.
You don't even know.
You don't even know what death is.
Exactly. You do not know what death is. So now Michael's like on the chase for Jamie and Rachel. He lays waste to Brady on the way. We get like an intense chase. And this is really what I remember from this movie a lot. The big things I remember from this movie are like the final chase scenes, and the lynch mob going around,
Mm-hmm.
and Loomis being crazy. Oh, and I didn't even mention the drunk priest, but I'll get to that
Yeah,
when we start talking about like things we remember, I guess.
yeah, I was gonna bring that up later.
Um, so yes, like he chases him up into an attic, and then they go out onto the roof. He's coming after him. Rachel falls off the roof. Jamie gets lowered down. Rachel's presumably dead. Michael's chasing after Jamie. Jamie's running. Of course, crazy old Dr. Loomis finds her, and instead of saying anything, he just wraps his arms around her and scares the crap out of her. We see Rachel get up. Loomis, she's like, I need to go home. And he's like, he'll know to find you there. It's
So
like,
let's
where's the
go.
schoolhouse?
So let's take you to the schoolhouse and set off an alarm so that nobody knows we're there.
And he's like, she's like, won't he find us with the alarm? And he's like, the cops will hear it too. Like, okay. And then,
I
of course,
guess.
Michael shows up and he grabs Loomis and throws him through a window. Jamie gets away, and like the lynch mob shows up, and Rachel shows up, and they get in the car with them, like this old beater truck, and they're just like, "We're gonna get you out of town," which is, it's smart.
Yeah, somebody actually did something kind of smart.
Yeah, but somehow Michael's like was like attached to the truck.
Yeah, he's dragging underneath the truck or something. Apparently.
Yeah, like De Niro and Cape Fear, pretty much. But he gets and he lays waste to all these guys. Some gory ones, like rips a guy's throat out. And now like Rachel's driving the truck, and Michael's on the roof, and she's like trying to throw him off. And it's like crazy stunt work. Michael finally flies off when she hits the brakes, and then she rams the truck into him, and he goes flying like hilariously backwards. And the cops show up and just like empty like all these rounds into Michael, which barely even affects him. And then he falls down like a mine shaft, and that's the end of the movie. Or that's the end of Michael. Everything's presumably good, and then we get the weird ending to this movie, where we see Mrs. Crothers like starting a bath for herself, and then we get a POV shot of Jamie walking around with a mask on. She grabs a pair of scissors and murders Mrs. Crothers, which then sends Loomis nuts, which is one of my favorite parts in the entire series, where she's standing there at the top of the stairs with bloody like scissors, and Loomis is like, "No, no, no." It's like freaking out, and he pulls a gun on her, and the police. This is one I don't get. The police officer rips the pistol out of his hand, and then he puts it on Jamie.
Yeah.
And then that's the end of the movie. Cliffhanger.
No. Oh man.
Yeah. So things I kind of thought about. There's a part where they go into school, or things I noticed this time, and Michael grabs Loomis and throws him through a window. Did you notice that the Michael mask had blonde hair?
Thank you. Yes, I
never noticed that until this time.
Yeah, so I watched it the first. I actually wound up watching it this twice. And so I watched it the first time. Then when I was rewatching it the second time, I caught that and I rewound it, and I was like, "Was that really blonde?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I never noticed that until this time, and I watched this movie quite a bit. I mean, I owned it before. Is there any weird things that really stuck out to you?
Well, definitely did want to mention the old priest guy.
Yeah, the old priest. He's like a drunkard, and he's crazy. And I gotta figure out who that actor is, because he's shown up in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Big time character actor.
But I think I don't know what your connection was with it and everything, but it was kind of interesting to see how Loomis interacted with him, because it seriously seemed like Loomis looked at him and he's like, "Hey, I'm not the only crazy person."
Yeah.
Because he like connected with him. I'm just like, dude, this guy's insane. I get it, Loomis, you're crazy, but this guy's insane.
Yeah, like Loomis is nuts, but yeah. His name is Reverend Jackson P. Sayer, and he's played by Carmen Philby. He was the old man in the bar in The Wedding Singer. He was Old Man Withers in Wayne's World. Like, just small roles, but if you look up Carmen Philby, you'll definitely know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah,
he's one of those. Hey, it's that guy.
Well, dude, you know what would have been amazing is if he somehow got killed later in the movie,
or if somehow he saved them.
Oh my gosh!
Like accidentally.
Oh my gosh, that would have been hilarious. Like he's driving out of town, and then Jamie and Rachel jump in the truck with him.
Yeah, or he passes out at the wheel because he's drinking the whole time.
Oh my
It hits
gosh.
Michael.
Yes. Oh, that would have been hilarious. Like she flings him off the car and they're in the road and then all of a sudden drives through and runs him over.
No!
Oh my gosh, that would have been hilarious.
Oh gosh.
Well,
Uh,
another thing that I wanted to mention was actually a play off the whole like you don't know what death is. Um, because at the very beginning when they were in the psych ward or whatever picking up Michael, they were going through and that officer or whatever was walking the people through and then the one guy said something like, "Oh, Jesus," or something, and then he said, "Jesus doesn't have anything to do with this place."
yes.
And I was just like, so is that
Classic
just like
Loomis.
trying to rewrite that same line?
Yeah. So one thing that always kind of surprised me with this movie is the character of Kelly.
Hmm.
So the slasher movie genre is known for a lot of things: brutal kills, um, and then like lots of nudity and like sex cranked up, but you don't ever really see her naked in it. And she's supposed to be like kind of like the bimbo.
Hmm.
I mean, you see her in her bra and then like she takes it off and then you only see like from the side, where like a Friday the 13th movie would just like have a long establishing shot on it.
Overemphasizing.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
she walks around with just a shirt on too, but Friday the 13th would have left nothing to the imagination.
Yeah, I actually that kind of the second time I watched it, I kind of connected the dots on that where I was just like, oh, I mean like for being a slasher horror movie, they really didn't do a lot in that area.
Yeah, and I mean, the first one, PJ Souls was topless in it. The second one, there's that one nurse that fools around with the crazy, like, paramedic guy.
Yeah, oh, that guy, yeah.
Yeah, and then the third one, I don't think you really see anything in that. And then this one, it's kind of tame in that way too. Um, yeah, Friday 13th is really more known for that than Halloween was.
Yeah, well they kind of set them up for a more natural um setting for that
Yeah,
with camp and that whole thing.
yeah, for sure. But I can get into the kills now. There's a lot of them in this movie.
Yeah.
There's 19 of them. So we got the attendant. He gets a thumb through the forehead, which is just stupid. I mean, it's not possible. I mean,
Yeah.
like, at least when, like, Jason crushes someone's head, he has to struggle a little bit with it. Where Michael just puts his thumb through the guy's forehead like butter,
Yeah.
like a rotten cantaloupe. And then we got like these three other paramedics. They kind of just die off screen. We don't see what happens.
Paramedic dead.
Then we get the mechanic. He gets impaled with a rod. The waitress at the place. We don't get to see that one.
But they know her name apparently.
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah, I was so confused by that because I never saw a name tag or anything.
Yeah, weird.
Apparently her name was Shelley.
Shelly. Then Bucky, he gets thrown into an electrical transformer, which was interesting.
Yeah.
Deputy Pierce, he gets ripped apart. And then it's Officer 1 and Officer 2, they both get ripped apart. Ted, he gets shot with guns by the lynch mob. Deputy Logan gets mangled up. Kelly gets pinned to the wall with a shotgun. Brady gets his neck snapped. Orrin gets stabbed in the back and then thrown from the truck. Alan, he gets stabbed in his stomach and thrown from the truck. Unger, he gets thrown off the truck. And Earl gets his neck ripped open. And then lastly is Mrs. Crothers gets stabbed with scissors. Yeah. Well, Michael gets shot and falls down a mine shaft, but we know he's not dead.
Of course not. If he
did he
can
do?
survive an explosion, he's definitely not getting taken out by that. Yeah, well, one part with the deaths definitely that I wanted to bring up was the ridiculousness. I mean, we already talked about how ridiculous it was that he apparently was holding onto the truck.
Hmm.
Michael was, but this one starts kind of pushing Michael more into the realm of like supernatural kind of a thing
Yeah,
because all of a sudden he's traveling all over town super easily, super quickly.
without a car this time.
Yes. So not making sense. Like 1 second he's following Jamie, the next second he's on the other side of town at the power plant or something, and all this. Then all of a sudden he's at the police station. Then all of a sudden he's over here. Yeah. So he's just like, what am I thinking of? Transporting or
Yeah.
whatever. But then also some of the other things is him holding on to the car, apparently the truck somehow. So they're in the school. They come out of the school the most direct route to the truck that the guys just got out of, but then they jump in the truck and drive away. And somehow in those like seconds, Michael is able to get under the truck and hold on
Hmm.
without anyone seeing him. Like they didn't give any opportunity for that. So again, another situation where it's just like, if you're really making this happen, there has to be some sort of supernatural element. But the thing that makes me laugh, I think, the most about the deaths and everything was the end when he killed the three guys in the back of the pickup truck, because it's just like none of them noticed the other guys getting killed.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the first one, okay, you can argue that. The second one, there is no way two guys
Right.
standing next to each other that you're going to grab one and stab him and the guy standing next to him is not going to notice.
Yeah. Or the driver.
Yeah, that
I
too.
mean, I probably noticed that if I was driving.
Oh, what? You're in the back of the pickup truck and you just got stabbed? Oh, okay.
Oh gosh. So I'll just dive right into trivia. I got lots of trivia here for this.
Okay.
Um, the Halloween movies are always good for it. It's like, so just so Danielle Harris didn't get scared of George Wilbur as Michael, he would often lift up his mask in between takes to remind her that they were just making a movie and he was really not going to hurt her.
Hmm.
Dwight H. Little, he did extensive research on the history of Halloween, the holiday, and many of its harvest images were put into creepy opening sequence. We didn't mention that, but the opening sequence is great.
Yeah, it was, but at the same time, it was weird because it had nothing to do with the movie other than it's fall and it's Halloween.
Yeah,
Like it, I
I,
mean,
I could see that. Like it didn't really have much to do with the movie, but it kind of set the um it kind of just set the mood and the setting, I guess.
yeah, like it totally gave you a feeling and kind of creepy feeling and everything. But the second time I watched it, I was kind of like, this isn't Haddonfield. This isn't the insane asylum. This is really just nowhere that they're showing this farm that has nothing to do with the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was still like a cool sequence and the shots were really good and it, set the mood before the movie started.
Yeah. But okay, the next thing I got, so the girl Lindsay who drove Rachel and Jamie to the discount mart
Mm-hmm.
was originally going to be revealed as Lindsay Wallace from the first movie and have a larger role in the film. But that was cut for budget reasons.
Huh.
And then the third boy hanging out with Brady and Wade in the drugstore was meant to be Tommy Doyle from the original.
Hmm.
So Alan B. McElroy wrote the script in 11 days, and he beat the writer's strike by hours.
Interesting.
So Jamie's name in the original script was going to be Britty,
Ew.
but it was changed to Jamie in homage to Jamie Lee Curtis.
Well, I'm glad they did that.
Yeah. And then in late 1986, Canon Films contacted producer Deborah Hill and John Carpenter to work on a screenplay for a new Halloween. It was going to be titled Halloween 4. They were interested in the rights because they just did Texas Chainsaw 2, but Cannon didn't like the treatment that Carpenter and Hill turned in, and they ultimately decided not to produce the movie.
Huh.
And then shortly afterwards, Carpenter and Hill sold all their remaining interests in the Halloween series to Mustafa Akkad, who developed this movie, and he made a completely new script and fashioned it around the slasher movies of the 80s.
I really want to know what their concept was.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it was Carpenter's baby. Like,
Yeah.
So but much like the original, they had to import leaves, and squash were painted to look like pumpkins.
Nice.
I know you like the auditioning what ifs. So Melissa Joan Hart auditioned for the role of Jamie.
Huh.
So Sabrina the Teenage Witch could have been Jamie Lloyd. So the guy played Michael, George P. Wilbur. He actually wore hockey pads under his jumpsuit.
I thought he
to
did.
make him look more imposing, but he just looks stupid, honestly.
Yeah, there were a couple times that it wasn't super obvious, but there were a few that I was just like, that looks bad.
Yeah, it looks like he's shrugging most of the time.
Yeah.
So the Vincent drugstore that Jamie goes into to buy a costume is that same drugstore as seen 5 years later in The Sandlot.
Hey.
Yeah. And the last thing I got, this movie had a $5 million budget and made $17.7 million in the box office. So yeah, it did pretty well. And that's why we got more sequels. So do you want to get into grades?
Before we do, I wanted to share what I thought was kind of happen. Like when it started out and everything, well, I guess this might feed into my grades, I guess. So we'll kind of progress to that. But I obviously, first time seeing it, didn't really know what to expect. But then when Jamie picked out the clown costume, and you even said earlier, foreshadowing, I kind of was guessing what could potentially happen. But it was weird to me where it's just like, okay, he's trying to kill her, but then he essentially like passes his evil to her.
Yeah.
And then even when like in my mind, when the transition would have happened, when she like touched his hand, which first of all, like why would she go to him when he's been chasing her this whole time? But she touched his hand. That's when you would think, oh, okay, this going back from the end, must have been when the transition happened where like the evil transferred or whatever. But even after she touched him, he still got up and was going to try to kill her.
Yeah, dude. So this ending really sticks out like a sore thumb in the series because much in the way that the third movie really stands out, they do completely something different in the fifth one, and we'll get to that.
Well,
so like this, they just kind of forget that this ending even happened. But I mean, we'll talk about that when we do part 5.
Yeah. And not to get too far with it and everything, but then I was just like, so then when they went back and everything, I was just like, yeah, okay, I can kind of see where this is going. I did really, I was okay with it. I mean, I think the main reason why I was okay with it, and even though it was like, as we love to say, over the top with Loomis at the end, it really was kind of awesome at the same time.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, just to think about it, I mean, he's done 3, this is the 3rd movie, and here it is again. He had the horrible incident 10 years ago, and then here it is 10 years later, and he has this incident, and just to think that's over, just to have, like, the evil reborn, or however you want to say it.
Yeah.
And he did, I mean, you can say it's cheesy, you can say it's over the top. I mean, he did a heck of a job. I mean, it I guess you would say, kind of gut punches you
Hmm.
when you stop and think about it. It's just like, dude, this guy's like never escaping this.
Right. And Danielle Harris did a great job in this movie too for being so young and
Hmm.
like showing that fear.
Yeah.
And I mean, she only gets better in the next one, um, which
Yeah.
we'll talk about when we get to it. But yeah,
Yeah.
she did a pretty good job for like being her first movie.
Hmm.
Um, well,
So
I
that,
pulled from IMDb. What?
oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I pulled from IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes again. Um, what do you think IMDb is?
5.9.
Exactly.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, you totally got it.
Awesome.
So Rotten Tomatoes, there's a critic and an audience. What do you think those are?
Critic, I'm gonna go with 50%.
29.
Ew. Wow.
Yeah.
Dang. Okay, so audience, I'll probably go 45%.
53.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know why the critic one's so low. I mean, it's nothing like too great. And I mean, compared to the first two, it pales in comparison.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's that bad. I mean, it doesn't really feel like a Halloween movie,
Mm-hmm.
but it's definitely an above average slasher movie.
Yeah.
Uh, I guess I can give my score first. I have kind of a history with this because I watched it quite a bit, owning it on VHS. And, I always remember where I got it and being excited to watch it. And, I do enjoy it. And I like the character of Rachel a lot. I thought she was a pretty strong character that you actually cared about if she lived or not,
Mm-hmm.
which is sometimes kind of hard to come by in slasher movies, having like these characters you care about. Um, and Jamie as well. Both of those I thought were strong characters and a nice way to transition from Lori.
Yeah.
It kind of sucks that they just kind of killed her off in this, but whatever. Uh, Jamie is a character I would have liked to see return more in the series, but as we move on, we can kind of talk about that more in later installments. But yeah, solid movie, not the best, one of the better ones in the series, but as a whole, not anywhere near as good as the first two. And I even enjoy the third one more than this. Uh, but I give it a solid 3 out of 5.
Okay.
But kind of middle of the road. Better than some in the series, not as good as others.
Yeah. Well, as I'm going to be building up to my score, I think that's fair. I think 3 is pretty good. One thing that I forgot to mention earlier is uh, 2 things about the part where Loomis and Michael confront each other at the gas station.
Hmm.
And Loomis is just like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this now, 10 years later? And it's just like, dude, it was his only chance to escape. Like,
Yeah.
you think he planned it? Like, hey, guys, come pick me up.
I think I'm ready to move on so I can break loose.
Yeah, I'm a reformed person. I can go back into society, I swear. Um, yeah, so I thought that was kind of funny. But then also it's just like, dude, Michael, this is the guy who has been the one to essentially stop you twice now. You have the opportunity to kill him,
Yeah.
kill the guy.
But
Hint,
at the
hint.
same time, he's just not capable of doing it.
Yeah. Well, then even he had the opportunity at the school, and all he did was throw him through a door, and then he's just like, "Okay, you're not important to me now."
Yeah, it's kind of like, get out of my way.
Yeah.
Um,
So, well,
yeah.
building up to my final grade and everything, because there's one more thing that I want to mention before I get to that. Is I was fully anticipating, because I didn't know this. I thought Jamie Lee Curtis was in this one. And so I was waiting for her to show up, bust down a door, and have like a shotgun or something and be like, it's just been revoked. or some stupid one-liner or something like that, and to blow Michael Myers away. So I was a little
That's what I was thinking of at the end where they're blowing him away. It's just been revoked.
So honestly, I was a little disappointed that didn't happen. But because I thought the whole thing of her dying was just kind of like a ploy, like something to kind of cover up and so that Michael wouldn't
Yeah.
bother her and that whole thing. But I enjoyed it. It was good. I think I enjoyed watching it the second time. It is getting, like I said, they're pulling him further away from reality with some of it,
Mm-hmm.
where they're making him into more of a supernatural character or being. So that was a little bit of a bummer to me, but I mean, it progressed pretty well. I mean, as you said, the character Rachel was good because you did care about her. And honestly, like when she fell and you thought she died, I was just like, oh, bummer. I didn't quite see that coming. But um, I actually feel like I'm going to put this kind of on the same level as Halloween 3. I gave that a 3.5. So I'm going to give this one a 3.5 because I feel like, I mean, even though I kind of think of Halloween 3 as one that stands by itself because it's not a part of the Michael Myers series,
Yeah.
I feel like these two are kind of that they're kind of on the same level. Like I could rewatch both of them the same amount of times and things like that and still enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
I may feel a little differently, once we get through the entire series and kind of looking back at them all and thinking that this one is gonna stick out more as a blemish on the series than it does
Yeah.
to me right now. But right now, I'll stand to give it a 3.5.
Rock. I will say one of the things I don't really care for in this movie is the mask itself.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a cheap knockoff. Looks like
Yeah.
one they bought from like Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
Threw it on him, like the hair is like slicked back and like the face just kind of hangs. It's not as form fitting as the first two movies.
Yeah.
So it's really lacking there. And as we go on, you can see the change in them. Some are better, some are worse. But
Yeah. Well,
we'll talk about that as we go.
That's another thing too to talk about. Is when Michael Myers got the mask, he had the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to take Jamie right there and then,
Mm-hmm.
but then he didn't because he was worried about getting like makes no sense.
There's times too where like he's laying in the back seat of that cop car, and then there's another time where he's sitting in that rocking chair, like
Mm-hmm.
waiting for Kelly to light a candle and see that the cop is dead.
Yeah, and somehow with his back turned, he knew that she saw him.
Yeah, that's just not something that Michael would do.
Yeah.
Like I said, this doesn't feel like a Halloween movie at times, but it's definitely an above average slasher, and I do enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, like I go back and I compare it to the first one a lot, like just thinking about different things. And the first one was just so uh, well refined, I guess you might say, but like there weren't all these loose threads all over the
Yeah.
place
Mm-hmm.
that you could pull it apart.
Yep. I totally agree. And the series only gets better as we go. So next time we will be talking about Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers.
Dun dun dun.
Pretty generic title, but until then, be kind and rewind.